that those statistics are outrageously too high. Too many people are suffering from this form of abuse. And so the Bridge Over Troubled Waters, we want survivors to know that we are there for you. We are here 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. All of our services are free and offered bilingually. We serve everyone. We serve people of all ages and all genders. And we have a 24-hour hotline that you can reach out to anytime. We are located in Pasadena, Texas, and we have a satellite office in Baytown, Texas, but we service all survivors throughout Harris County and the surrounding areas. We want the community to know that we are here to support survivors and their families on their healing journeys. We want them to know that we can help them on their fresh and safe start of their new life through housing programs, employment assistance, individual therapy, support groups, and of course, safety planning so that they can safely leave that relationship. We also have an education and prevention team that goes out and is working on changing the social norms in our culture through community organizing, professional trainings, presentations, and community workshops. Last year, we experienced a 20% increase in the state of Texas for domestic violence homicides. A total of 228 Texans were killed by the person who was supposed to love them. This is the greatest number of domestic violence homicides that we've seen in a single year since Texas Council on Family Violence has begun this research. I'm here to ask you today to join the Bridge Over Troubled Waters and our phenomenal community partners at Precinct 1 in joining our fight against domestic violence. If all 367 million Americans did one thing to prevent domestic violence, we would win this fight. The option for that one thing is endless. You can hold a community conversation centering the voices of survivors to discuss possible solutions. You could volunteer your time and skills to a domestic violence organization. You can model respect and equality in all of your relationships. You can interrupt racist, sexist, heterosexist, and ableist comments and advocate for equitable practices and policies. You can engage in legislative advocacy for survivors. You can break the silence on social media. Invite a speaker to discuss domestic violence in your faith-based community, your school, or your organization. Challenge victim-blaming comments and honor the choices of survivors in your lives. And lastly, inspire others to join our movement to end domestic violence. These are just a handful of the countless things that you can do to help us win this fight against domestic violence. Together, with our collective power, we can change the culture and save countless lives. Thank you.
Domestic violence is a public health crisis. I'm Marie Jacinto with ABDA, Aid to Victims of Domestic Abuse. We've been in the Houston area for more than 40 years. We provide free legal representation. This is so important. ABDA is not a shelter. It's the next step for a survivor to really begin again. So we provide free legal representation for divorce, child custody, child support, very importantly, protective orders. In the case of a parental fatality, we also offer adoption services. But we take a holistic approach to ending domestic violence, which is our mission. We also help abusers with a battering intervention and prevention program. We have this program in Montgomery, Harris, Galveston, and Fort Bend counties. We work with abusers to overcome the abusive behaviors. And finally, we know that the only way we can really end domestic violence is by teaching our young people about healthy relationships and healthy relationship skills. So we are out in the community practically every day of the year in schools. We also train adults, especially first responders like our faith leaders, our law enforcement, our medical professions on understanding what the signs of abuse are and to help victims survive. So today I want to leave you with two very important messages. If you are surviving domestic violence, the most important thing for you to do is to stay safe. That might mean that you don't just leave, and you certainly do not tell your abuser that you're about to leave. It's the most dangerous time for anyone surviving domestic violence is upon leaving. This is true for our law enforcement too. Some of the most dangerous calls they will make are domestic violence calls. We want to keep everyone safe, but please reach out, call one of the many, many resources for domestic violence in our community to make a safety plan to keep yourself safe. My second message for today is, if you know someone who's surviving domestic violence, there are 3 important things to do. First is to recognize the signs. Isolation is usually a key sign of domestic violence. Someone suddenly is not attending family events, can't go out, that may be a sign that they're experiencing domestic violence in their home. Secondly, respond. Do not judge, do not blame victims. Trust me, they're blaming themselves enough. Listen. That's the most important thing you can do. And then finally, refer them. Refer them to all the resources that we have in this community. Stay safe, everyone.
Hello, I'm a domestic violence survivor. I grew up in a family where my mother had to flee our home from our father with me and my sister because she was beaten so bad and so brutal that we spent months living in our cars behind police stations where the officers would bring us donuts in the morning, and we lived there for months until my mom found a safe haven where she could work and find us, get us food and find us a place to live. We lived there for about a couple of months when my dad found us. He kicked in the door, beat my mother while me and my sister hid in the closet, and took us away from my mother. My mother was so afraid for her life that she didn't come back around for years. And the only way that we ever got to see her in those few years after that was when we would be dropped off in a parking lot somewhere by a family member, and they had to leave completely before she would come out of nowhere and get us and take us to someplace different, and then drop us back off in that parking lot and leave. My father continued this cycle with me and my sister. She wasn't there anymore to have the abuse, so he had to abuse somebody. That ended up being me and my sister. Therefore, her and I carried that on to our relationships. We have both been in very abusive relationships, both physical and mentally. I've been shot, I've been beaten, I've been hit by a car, but you can get out. You can get out. There are help. There's help here now that I didn't know was around when I was going through this, or especially as a child, I didn't know any of that was around to help me. With all the partners here, the resources are available for you to get out and for you to get the help that you need. Reach out to us. I am part of the towing community, and that's why this was so great and near and dear to my heart when they reached out to me about doing this, because I am both part survivor and a tow truck operator, and I want to see us all survive and live through this. We can. We are survivors. All you have to do is reach out, and if you can help somebody and you hear their cries, please don't ignore them. The signs are there. The people are there to help. Just reach out and help them.
Well, as you just heard, a survivor. So that tells you that there is life after domestic violence. My greatest fear is people don't know all of these resources are there. So please, let's start having this conversation. Let's talk. All these resources are available to somebody that is in a domestic violence situation. So I'm imploring the public, friends, relatives, co-workers, if you know somebody's in a domestic violence situation, please help them. We stand ready to help. Call law enforcement, and we will walk you through all of these incredible organizations to get you the help you need to escape this life. And so we're praying that everybody really does see the resources here and uses them. And I'm opening it up for any questions now that you may have of any of our collaborators. You want to do it? No, it's not a pilot program. We are actually, this is going to be something that we're going to continue to support. It is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we chose this month to roll this program out. And when you have participants, people that collaborate, such as the towing industry, that is willing to go and become part of the solution, we're all in. It's not a pilot program. Please stop. If a police officer has somebody that has a domestic violence situation and you need one of these bags, you can GB for a wrecker that is a participant in the program, and they will bring over these resources to that person. So it's just incredible that, and I again can't thank all of our partners, especially the towing industry, because they stepped up and said, we want to be part of the solution. Okay. Thank you.
Did you have a pen?